And we're live. So, Sunday. I'm going to be stripping and crimping wires and doing some soldering, making some of these prototype boop boop boards. If anybody wants to come chat, I'll put you right down here. The link is over there. Just type it into your browser and it'll pop up a Google Meet. Here we go. I'm now making connector cables for power switches. Cut them all to length, and then I will strip their ends and crimp on 4.6mm spade connectors, and then slip over the little silicone rubber booties so nothing can ground. Make this thing like a pom-pom. Wrap them around and cut through the loop. I was up late doing this last night, late for me anyway, and well, I got tired, so I went to sleep. So now, Sunday morning, I am doing more of this. Exciting work. Okay, got these power cables. Time to strip them. There's a service called Dirty PCBs that has a sub-service, I guess, called Dirty Cables. It will make you custom cables, but they did not have the same options. I'll end up designing around. Maybe I can find some components that take the connectors that I can get on Dirty Cables, so I'll never have to do this again. Or just cables that components that I can get off the shelf cables for at the reasonable lengths for the process, but for now, here I am making artisanal cables. Get through. At Beckburger, I need a wire stripping machine. You're a wire stripping machine. Yes, probably. This stripper is pretty good, but there's also cutting. Like, I'm going to strip through these pretty quick, but then, it's going to take forever to crimp them. So I need about 50 machines in a factory and a horde of children to work their little finger magic in making me cables. Matt, if you're chilling, I bet you're assembling some other things too. Come on, type this link in your browser. I'll put you down here. We can chat the misery of electronics assembly and your wild success. Just Google CNC and your particular problem. Yes, everything is solvable. The CNC something or other. I mean, I feel like at least the cutting and stripping could easily be, I'm sure they make these machines, but if not, I'm sure one of us could make one pretty quick where it spools out a length of wire and then strips to a certain length over and over. But, not making that many cables. It'll take me 5 minutes to do these. And then it'll take me another 5 minutes to do the next one, or 10 minutes. But, I've got to get our work out somehow, when I was a kid, my dad had a pair of these electrician's wire strippers, except, in the 80s, it's probably a $200 tool, and I was not allowed to play with them. And then more recently, I bought one for $21 on Amazon from China. It's amazing. Every time I use it, I feel good. I've made it in life. Matt, what are you working on this morning? I assume you are sitting in front of your computer, bored out of your mind. You're watching this, probably assembling light meter parts, if I had to guess. I don't think you should be watching me if you were on a prototyping day. Those are fun days, but I don't know. I don't usually watch YouTube while I'm prototyping, unless I got to make a quick stop at YouTube University to look up Planck's constant or something. L'Hopital's rule. Matt says, my wife wants me to walk the dog, actually, but I have to put some meters together. Yeah, I kind of promised Laura that I would not do this all Sunday, but she is sleeping, so I'm hanging out with the internet until she wakes up. Made some coffee, got up early-ish, and yeah, I'll go as long as she is asleep, which could go for a while. Could get some serious work done today. Should finish all of these by Monday. Is there a clickable link for the Google Meet? No, and the reason is because every time I put a clickable link in the chat or the comments, I get Google bombed by a bunch of horny teenagers, and then I have to delete the videos. There are bots crawling that then post open Google Meets to like Reddit and Discord threads of kids. I have seen the terriblest, nastiest, horriblest things from like screen share from some random kid. I don't even want to say what it was, but yeah, that's why I can't have clickable links for the Google chat anymore. You've ruined it, kids. I learned about some, let's just say, medical fixtures used in horrible ways. Last time I put the link up as a clickable thing. Probably would be alright on Facebook. I'm not sure what my privacy settings are and what the spiders are set to spider, but yeah. There's a certain amount of anonymity that I'm looking for, even um, in my YouTube fame. There we go. You on? Hey, Matt.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, how are you? See you.
Too bad. Just being lazy. It is 11 o'clock here, so I have no excuse.
Um, yeah, whew. Yeah, I did like a quick couple week project. Made this projector trigger, and then I
Yeah,
sold a bunch of them, and so now I'm trying to just put them out real quick and get back to what I want to do. But I think it'll be fun getting videos back. Everybody I sold one to, I told them they had to make me like a quick cell phone video of the thing in use, so get some quick feedback. But this one, I know you know the pleasures and annoyances of like, mechanical systems. This one, I am not responsible at all for any of the mechanics, which means like everything just works. I have no rejects and no like things wobbling out of place.
right.
Right?
Yeah, all the mechanics
Electronics.
are other people's problems.
Yeah, exactly.
That one. Yeah, good.
Hey, congrats on your Kickstarter. It's amazing.
Thank
You
you.
did like $250,000 worth of light meters.
Yeah, yeah,
Super.
281 on the
Wow.
sticker, and then they gave me 255 after they got
Whoa.
their
Ooh,
pound of flesh.
that's
Canadian,
amazing.
so that's like 180 US maybe, something like that.
Yeah. That's a house?
There's a house. Oh, not here. Houses on my street are going for like $900,000. So
Oh, geez.
it's
You
not a
gotta
house
sell a lot
here.
more light meters, buddy.
Well, that's what mortgages are for.
Yeah.
No, actually,
So,
I want to move so I can build like an outbuilding
yep. I
for
am in the
businesses.
process of
Have that in my
this.
friggin' basement.
Yeah, I need a
Basement's full.
5,000 square foot pole barn.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
my dream to just have like along the walls of a giant pole barn all of like the stations, and then in the center have like 8 foot long folding tables devoted to a project that I'm working on, and have like 10 of them, so that none of the projects have to get put away in boxes and like stored in my soldering station, like piled on
yeah.
things.
Well, actually, I find well when I have a 400 square foot garage. When I outfitted it with various tools and that, I built a bunch of benches and there's such a thing as too much surface area, at least for me. Whereas it turns into piles of things, and then you never see the bottom again. Like some of the tabletops are pristine
And
because they're deep below the piles of trash.
yeah, well, so if you had even more surface area, you could then spread it out. So your junk is only one item thick.
Well, I mean that's my point is I shouldn't have any layer of junk.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't work that way for me.
I
Less
was
surface area is probably healthier.
uh, I was doing
For
pretty well until I bought this laser cutter, which it and its accessory machines and spare materials take a quarter of my shop.
yeah,
And now, like, I can't use the darkroom sink because there are 5 and 6 foot tall piles of boxes, just components that I got nowhere to put.
yeah. I've got heaps of DigiKey boxes with
Yeah, yeah, me
just
too.
flying out of them.
Mostly Mauser
Yeah,
for me. Oh, we got
yeah.
a
It's
hello from Sweden. I have the little Ruveni light meter on my M2. I love it.
hey.
You got you got more fans on my channel than I do. That's
Well,
great.
I've sold a few of those things now, so
Yeah, it's doing really well. I got a
actually, I
competing
just
light meter project coming, but
oh, you do
it's well, kind of. It's not really going to
share with me.
compete. No, yeah, it's you'll see. It's going to do 10 grand at most. You won't have to worry. This could be fun.
Wait, is it an incident meter or is it a shoe mount or
Yes,
yes? Ah,
but it's not actually a product that I build.
okay. I've got a warning for you. My next product is an incident meter.
I figured it
So
would be.
I have a really cool idea actually that I haven't let out of the bag yet publicly.
I'll race you. No, I mean because I don't want to build these. I'm going to be very limited to a very niche little market, but it'll be a fun little project before I go back to working with like motors and gears and bearings and headaches.
I just spent the last I don't know how many days rewriting my spot meter code. So a lot of people wanted. I didn't have a zone system mode. A lot
Uh-huh.
of people wanted that, and a lot of
Yeah,
people also wanted. So the way I thought maybe I could do it that would be acceptable to most people is to do just whole stop readout of the shutter and aperture, but then give you your EV number to one decimal place,
that's
so
great.
that if you wanted to do something else, you could just interpolate. Like if you wanted to do like some middle aperture, you could
Hmm.
interpolate, right? Like you'd see
Hmm.
it's oh it's EV 12.5. Well, that means go halfway between
I
whatever.
have, by the way, I have so many programs that like calculate integer number, and then instead of like creating a float, it creates a remainder that it like adds and subtracts from every other thing that it's doing. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
I've done that where you split the number in half. You
yeah,
have the integer and the decimal, and you treat them both as integers.
yes, and then
Yeah,
instead of like, I do this on the mongoose instead of because okay, so I allow people to measure the number of motor steps between frames in fast mode, and I don't want to give them micro stepping because even though it gives you more accuracy, it gives you less precision, and we're really about precision in this game.
right.
But if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
measure 3 frames and you get a number not divisible by 3, you get some frame steps remainder, and then it'll move the integer number of frames once or twice, and then it'll add the remainder. So the things shift by like a quarter of a millimeter back and forth. It winds up being like way way more precise over time. But it's like you're just juggling this stupid number, and there's more code to juggle that number than to like do the thing that you're
Yeah,
anyway. uh,
yeah. I've lived that nightmare plenty of times.
here's a here's a
I usually
question.
just say screw it and just do floating point
Yep,
uh,
yep.
because I am incompetent.
No, I don't
Um,
think that's incompetent, particularly for light meters. The one thing I wonder is like, um, why not just have a uh, setting where you can see, the integer stop plus the EV fraction, or just set it to like, half stops and third stops, or just like decimal readout. Everybody hates decimal readouts unless they're engineers, but I assume you have more than a few engineer customers.
Yeah, they're not the majority, so it's irrelevant.
Yeah,
So now what I've done is all this rewrite is now the user can go in the menu and pick if they want whole stop, half stop, or third stop readout,
great.
and it will actually do all those, f 6.3 and 1/80th of a second and all these, ridiculous
Just like an
numbers.
icon.
Yeah, or a Seconic or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, or pretty much any modern meter,
That's
digital
great.
meter will do that. So now it's up to the user, and they still get the decimal readout of the EV, which is just for kicks, really, I guess,
Hmm.
at this point.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's extremely robust.
yeah, it works pretty well so far. And then they can compare too, right? There's the compare function,
Hmm.
which works really well. Um, and then I also wrote a zone mode system. I didn't have a zone mode.
Didn't you have some sort of
So
weird, like pseudo zone system from a YouTuber that I did not know who's real popular?
yeah, yeah. So his yeah, Nick Carver.
Right.
His system uses so it takes the zones. Okay. I honestly, it's not bad. I think it's pretty cool. Like I would get why somebody who had already done the hard job of learning the zone system, as it's written, and
Sure.
getting comfortable with that they would balk at the idea
I mean,
of
at the end of the day, it's the same thing with, yeah, different names.
well, yeah. So it rather than picking zones, by rote, like so you read a spot and you're like that's zone two or whatever. Like instead of it being rote like that, you use like conversational language to pick
Hmm.
the zone position. But then also what's
Stone
cool is
pumpkin.
that instead of each zone being one EV apart or one stop apart, you can actually set the range.
Right.
So you don't have to memorize that slide film is only EV2 to EV8 or whatever. Um, you can actually bake that into the reading. Um,
That's like, I have not seen that before. I remember when you told me about this. Very clever.
and it's cool. I like that a lot actually. It works really well. So his method used paper before. You'd have these little paper printouts. Um,
Must be written in
and
a
you just
fountain pen.
no, he's not like pretentious like that.
Yeah.
But it worked. It worked fine. But then I was, him and I were talking about it, and I guess he has like strong opinions about metering,
Hmm.
and uh, and I was like, I can just bake that paper like right in the meter. I can throw that paper away. He thought that was cool. So
Yeah.
I mean, the endorsement essentially, and the sort of two-way deal of discounts that we have set up has been really good for business. Um, getting people, again, getting people excited to back the Kickstarter was effective. So
I was very surprised. I mean, I knew it would make, but I was surprised that a light meter did way better than the incident meter, which everybody needs.
yeah,
But the spot meter options
um,
that are out there are
spot meter
very
also is
expensive, and
yeah, exactly.
and or
That's the
to,
thing.
you know my opinion on the old Pentax spot meter. I mean, I love Pentax, but that was not a. I don't like the product, not one bit.
Well, there's problems obviously with the market. The market has been left to fallow by the big guys. So
Yeah.
there was room. Um, but yeah, the incident meters next, and it's gonna be cool. I've got a cool idea. I have to find time to actually build it. But I have a cool idea, and I have a little 3D printed mock-up
Cool.
um, that will be coming down the pike probably by the end of the year. We'll see.
Yeah.
A lot more
Right.
spot meters to build.
Yeah, that's the kicker is that in times of COVID, like the more success any one product does. Like the more it actually prevents you from releasing a new product. Whereas I think when
Yeah,
Nikon has like a winner, right, they have like a separate design and production team. Like the winner might spur more stuff being released.
yeah. I mean, they hand it over to their to another team, right? Production team
Yeah,
leaves the design team and moves over to the production team. Plus, I don't even know. I mean, well, maybe not anymore, but who knows how many hundreds of people work in Nikon's engineering and production departments.
got to be. I mean,
A few
if I
hundred people.
spoke Japanese, my, it would be my dream job to work at Nikon, Canon, or Fuji. I'm sure they would
I
not
tried to
want
get
me.
a I tried to get a job as a repair tech at Canon. They never responded to my inquiries. That was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, probably for the best for you, maybe
Uh,
not for Canon.
uh, well, 10 years ago I was pretty useless. So.
Were you were still an engineer 10 years ago, though?
I was a lowly yet fledgling turd.
Fledgling oil and gas
I'm not
man.
an engineer. I'm not an engineer in the capital E sense.
I think
Um, so
just play one on YouTube like me.
yeah, yeah. Make your own luck. Seems to be the way to go.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Nobody else is gonna hire you. It seems.
certainly not me. They might hire you now.
No, then no, they'll be like, he's too much of a free thinker.
Yeah.
He would never be a team player. I'm sure I'm possibly less attractive as an employee now than ever.
I have been both employee and boss, and it just I realized when I was a boss what a terrible employee I was. Like so, when I was a
Just
boss,
like
I
being a shit disturber, basically.
yeah, exactly. Like so, I had people that uh, just didn't do their job, and I would fire them, and that was easy. But then I had people like me that were just gunners, right? And they were like always looking for my job or another job or job above me, and so like I had this one guy who's great. I love him. I would hire him personally, but he was just like I shouldn't complain about him, but he was like one of the best employees I've had over hundreds of. But he was always a pain because you'd give him something to do and you walk away and you'd come back. I remember going. I like gave him something to do in the morning and I had somewhere else to be. I came back.
Yeah,
He had completed my task and gone to Home Depot, got uh, cement and a wheelbarrow and was filling holes in the floor. He was just like such a gunner. Uh, and it was like,
yeah,
I just need you to do the thing that I ask you to do, and like, I would just worry about like not him not doing the thing, just what else he would get up to. And I remember just dogging my boss, like she'd give me something to do when I was an employee last, and then uh, I would do it, and then I would like present a white paper on what else the credit union should be doing, and she'd be like, "Buddy, I just need you to sit there, have your degree in our files so we can raise grants, and shut your mouth." I didn't realize. I thought I was being a good employee at the time. I was.
right.
Oh, we
Yeah,
got
when you're newly like
Nicole says
allowed
hi.
to.
Hey, Nicole. And Jason Lane says, "Sup, buddy? Hey, Jason, got your candles. If you want to come talk to Matt or Nicole or anybody, the link is over there."
Ethan, don't you have a PhD?
If we were not live, I'd make a crude joke. No, no,
I thought you had a PhD. Am I
no.
imagining that,
Yes,
or did
definitely.
I misinterpret it?
It might. I mean, I might have been saying something very crude at some point, but no, I don't have like any terminal degrees. I have a undergrad degree in economics. I dropped out of the physics program. I don't.
Okay.
I don't know
I
anything
think you had
about
a PhD.
no.
Maybe I'm thinking of some other podcast person who has a random PhD or something.
Yeah,
Uh, I don't know why I thought that.
definitely not. I mean, look at me,
Not a
man.
good idea. I mean, you got the body, you got the body for higher education.
Yeah. Yeah. I got the body for hibernation. I was real like I calculated my BMI in the
Whoa, don't do that.
yeah well because I had to figure out which class of COVID uh, vaccine registration I could apply for in New Mexico, and I realized I am like close to being morbidly obese. And I was like, yeah,
Close to being
best.
morbidly obese.
This is the best thing I've ever done for my health because I'm going to get the vaccine quick.
Well, I thought. Well, what's the BMI for morbid? Because I thought it was like 35 or something.
I'm 35.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm tickling 25.
Oh
I think
wow.
is the line for obese.
Oh yeah. No,
Um,
I haven't been there since maybe I was. Yeah. I'm very heavy.
but like I'm 5'11", 215 probably.
Uh huh.
That's not that fat. It's a little fat, but
Yeah.
like I
No,
don't deserve to be called obese.
I am extremely fat. I actually when I was 18, I was like 4% body fat. I stood on one of those things that I remember, and I was like always hungry, and I looked like Chris McCandless. And even back then, the guy from Into the Wild. Uh, Even back then, I was
were you
tickling
eating
obese.
lean rabbit meat too?
No, so when I was 18, I couldn't put on weight, and like my mom had these like Weight Watchers tricks that I would do in reverse, and I lived with this guy, my roommate Andy, who was 6'7" and also weighed like under 200 pounds, and the two of us would go every night at midnight and eat a foot long Philly cheesesteak in the cafeteria, just like right before we went to bed to try and put on weight, and we each lost 5 pounds that year. It was terrible.
That's
Hey guys.
Hey,
sounds like a great
Jason.
problem to have. Hey, Jason. So
We're talking health tips
talking
and
obesity.
dieting. Hey, how are you today?
How's that working?
I got your candles. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Enjoy. Do they smell like honey?
Yeah, they do. I wanted to eat them. My girlfriend told me do not eat them.
Yeah, don't eat them.
They actually
Those should.
came 1 week after our first power outage in this house. I was making fun of like who uses candles, and I had to leave the shop all morning because there was no light in here.
Yeah. Well, day late, dollar short.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I was in college, uh, this was back in the day when you get newspapers. So like the university had a newspaper printing club, and they drop off stacks of newspapers at the dorms. And one edition, like freshman year, one of my buddies noticed that there was a coupon for $5 foot long subs, or it was like buy one get one free or something like that,
Uh huh.
and there was no expiration date. So they went around to all the dorms on campus and collected a stack of like 1 or 200 newspapers, and we clipped out all the coupons, and we ate Subway buy one get one free for like 5 or 6 years.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Great.
No expiry
So
coupons are dangerous.
yeah, I lost weight too.
Every flavor of turkey available.
Yeah.
my
So
my uncle told me a story. He went to college with a guy, um, and they lived in a dorm. And this guy had stolen, I guess, or found somehow an entire skid of cereal, of like sugar cereal, basically. That it was like skid wrapped together. He like picked up the top of the skid and just like walked home with it. And the guy was like, "Oh, I'll just live on this. Like, I'll save so much money all year. I'll just eat this cereal." So like a few months later, he noticed his teeth were getting loose, um, and
So bad.
he went. So he went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Yeah, you have scurvy," because all this guy did was eat this free cereal for months.
Oh
That's awesome.
god. uh,
Real world problems right there.
it's really terrible. Uh,
Well,
So
I gotta get going. I have to go walk the dog. So
hey, thanks for stopping in.
yeah,
Talk to
good
you.
talking to you guys.
Congrats
see you,
again.
man. How you doing?
All right, see you later, guys.
Jason, what are you up to today?
I'm filling orders and answering emails,
Yeah.
and then we did the kids looked for their Easter eggs and stuff this morning. I put them all in the basement, so hidden amongst all my stuff for the business. I
It's
told them if they didn't find them all, then the high schoolers were going to get the candy. So, but they found them all, luckily.
you got to number them. Apparently, the makerspace, my friend Gunner, years ago when they moved in, they did like Easter egg hunt, but like he
Yeah.
thought it would be funny to put like sandwich meats in in some of these eggs. I heard this from his son. This was years later, but apparently, like the search through the makerspace was not thorough, and the smell got really bad in about a month. No, no more ham-filled Easter eggs for Hugh Lab.
That's awesome. Yeah, we keep close track of how many of the real eggs they find. We don't want any going missing for weeks.
Oh, you hide like real chicken eggs.
Yeah, yeah, boiled eggs. We do that too. We do both candy filled ones and then I boil eggs and then they dye them. So they dyed a bunch yesterday and then hit them.
Yeah. The old afikoman hunt has less of a chance of spoiling.
So, but yeah, so we did that this morning, and then just filling orders. I've got my coder coming over. Oh, I also finished up repairing a lens. So these old uh, they're Goonlock turn to right anastigmats. They're they were actually a fairly common lens around the turn of the 20th century. Two five elements in two groups, so it's two lenses that are like five pieces of glass bonded together. It's insane. So like a Dagor lens on steroids. They didn't really get any better quality out of it, but whatever. I guess they sold it as a feature. Marketing back to the turn of the century. So, but the problem is that on a lot of them, if you go look them up, they made them in all sizes, and I think they are actually one of the contracted lenses for like the Kodak 2D cameras during World War II.
That's probably
So they're fairly
I've
common.
seen a bunch of these. I've never really used them, but I bought and sold them. I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. I got one and because it was cheap and the balsam was all screwed up. So at some point I was like, I wonder if I could fix that. The hardest part is getting it apart because they didn't put retainers on it. They just burnished the brass barrel around the glass. So you have to mount it up on the lathe and turn down that retainer, and then it comes out.
Uh, yeah, that is not designed for repair.
No, um, the newer ones did. The ones that they did in like the 40s and 50s, they 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 got smart and started making them so that you can unscrew them. But the older ones, yeah. Um, and they came in Baytax and Alfax shutters, which there's a guy who repairs or does CLA on those for a pretty decent price. Anyways, so I destroyed one and figured out how it actually is supposed to come apart, and got another one for cheap, and got it apart, and it was it was easy to repair. And it, bonding, so it's like eight cemented surfaces. So it's kind of fun for me because I get a lot of practice doing the UV adhesive curing.
Do you
So
use a laser collimator while you're sticking them together?
no, not for those. It's I do an edge.
Mm-hmm.
I I've been doing this for doing UV curing, putting doublets together for years and years. For my day job. But
Sure.
there's a little bit of a technique if they're the same diameters. You can kind of rotate them and feel for how the edges lined up. You can sort of align them by feel. At work, I have a centering station which projects a reticle down onto the lens surface and images the reflection and calculates what the offset is. And it has a kind of a GUI interface that sort of makes it really easy to line the lenses up. That's how it's done in the profession when you really need to
Base.
center them up accurately. But for these, I don't need that accuracy.
Sure.
So I just do it by feel and sort of as rotating the lens and feeling it and just keeping it centered until the adhesive starts setting up, and then whack it with another cure. And then I've got I do that with a UV wand, and then just to get it set and bond them all up like that, and then set them underneath a UV lamp for 24 hours, and that takes care of it. And then once that's done, do the edge blackening, drop it back in the barrel, mix up some low outgassing epoxy to reattach the retainer that I turned off, and
Huh?
finish painting, and then away it goes. Brand just like new, except for
That sounds like a lot of work, Jason. A
yeah.
lot of
Well,
work.
it probably takes all told probably takes like 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours to do.
That time you could probably CLA 5 of those shutters.
Yeah, yeah. So, but it's good practice. I got folks who ask about getting lenses repaired, and so yeah, it keeps me in practice for when people send me $500,000, $2,000 optics to rebond.
I had a friend who was he had an air organ that he got for free, and he was like, I don't know if I should send it out for repair. And I said, look, I never pass up an opportunity to try and repair something that costs less than the repair job by a professional. If you break it, then you just buy a new one and then learn something for free. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's reasonable.
Um, yeah. So I charge just based on what I base charge for repairs like that on what my optical consulting labor rates. So it's a simple doublet. If I can get the retainer off easily, that's like the harder part.
Uh huh. Yeah, it's like
Full
a
doublet.
car where intellectually it's fairly simple, but like the actually like can I get this bolt off type of thing could be snapped a bolt. Well, now you got to pull the engine and send it to a machine shop.
Well, yeah. So if I can get if the retainer has the little notches for a spanner wrench, then it comes off pretty easily. And then the doublet, I've got a homebrew mix of solvents that gets rid of the debonds the adhesive over the course of like 2 or 3 weeks
Are you
once it falls
purposefully
apart.
doing it that slow so they don't shatter, or it's just a very hard thing to do?
Well, the modern adhesives, well, yes. So as opposed to using heat, so like balsam cemented lenses, you can put them in water at room temperature and slowly bring them up to temperature, and then the balsam mixes and separates. Except when it's really old and really dried out, that doesn't work as easy
Just like
as you
pop and
think it.
shatter, right?
If you slowly warm the glass up, then it won't get hit with that thermal shock, which is causes problems.
Got
But
enzymatic.
yeah, soaking it in solvent. There's a mix that I've got that will I drop it in there, and the next day balsam cemented lenses are already apart. But it also takes apart the UV, more modern UV adhesive over the course. That's what takes 2 or 3 weeks. So like I've got a 210 f 4.5 Heliar rear triplet that's currently uh, stewing,
Uh-huh.
sitting in the soup, and it's I check it every weekend, and you can kind of, if you look to it, you can kind of see how the progression of the it dissolving the adhesive
Uh-huh.
is going. So
Yeah, I
it's
have a small bucket of rotring isograph nibs sitting in solvents that I check every once in a while, see if
yeah,
free. Way
yeah,
less precision necessary though for my solvent baths.
yeah. So once that falls apart, then it's I just clean it off and rebond it, and the time to do that, this triplet will take a little longer, but it's like 1 or 2 hours labor, maybe an hour and a half total. Um,
Cool.
and then reblacken it, put it back together, send it on its way. I've also been getting into repolishing surfaces for people. So had a guy who had I forget what the lens is, but it was a pretty expensive lens, and it had fungus. Fungus had attacked the coating. It had fungus, and it had which etched the coating, and it also had cleaning scratches. Like it was a type of thing that you're like, oh, this this useless.
Oh,
So
I would market that on eBay as a magic lens.
magic lens,
Yeah.
right?
Actually, I did back in the day. Whenever I had like separation and you get that rainbow effect, I would
Yeah,
list them as magic lenses. But I would make sure, to in the description be kind of like funny about what it was, and then list them very cheap. Like
yeah,
not, I mean, I was upfront, like, this thing is separating. Still looks good through the lens, but when you look at the lens, it's not good, and it might get worse. Buy this
right,
magic lens for a magic price.
right. Yeah. So, but those I can polish those out if I can make a pitch lap and
Right.
polish it out with pitch and
I've seen you
optical
do that.
polish.
It's
Yeah,
super cool.
yeah. So that takes a little longer. If it's just the coating, it's like I'll be polishing on it, checking it every 15, 20 minutes, and it takes forever to get through the coating. But once the coating starts getting polished off, then it goes away, and the glass looks really clean.
Do you think you could teach in a reasonable amount of time a teenager to do that polishing?
Uh, no, well,
It's a lot of trust, right?
define reasonable. I mean, it's polishing out is definitely experience heavy. I'm not the
Right. Maybe you
art
could have them
art
do the
in that.
first 70% of the polishing, right? Just to reduce your time. And then you do the part where you get, close to
Uh,
close to
it's
extreme danger.
it's not even that it's not even that straightforward because you have to. It's so technique heavy. Like
Uh,
I'm not even that. I'm good enough at it for these type of things, but I didn't spend a career in an optical shop. I worked in an optical shop
yeah.
polishing, so I know the basics. but like you've got to you got to use a certain hardness pitch depending on the diameter of the lens. You've got to pour the pitch just the right way. You've got to score it just the right way. You got to mix up the slurry, the optical polish, and the water in the right way, and then you just don't start wiping at it like you would clean off a kitchen counter with a paper towel or something. You got to use a certain polishing stroke, and your pressures, the amount of pressure that you put on it's got to be right. You've got to put some weight on it. Oh, it's all technique. And if you ever people who have come to me to quote optics because they want my help in designing this cool lens, and then they get sticker shock. They're like, "Why is it
Yeah,
so expensive to get one or two lenses made?" And I go, "Well,
I
it's all labor intensive."
I get that often. Right?
Yeah,
People don't get that a one-off. You have to amortize the months of figuring out that one-off thing.
right.
Industrial clients are pretty. They understand, right? They're not getting
Yeah,
a
they get
cheap
it,
deal
right?
from anybody.
Um, so it's like for optics, you you still have all that labor in a commercial lens, but it's like you said, it's spread over hundreds and hundreds of copies. So, but like for polishing and stuff, it's probably about 3 hours worth of work. So I charge accordingly, of course.
Yeah.
And then the other kind of cool thing is that an optical shop that I do a lot, that I've done a lot of business with for my day job. Um, every once in a while, I get somebody asking if I can redo coatings, so I reached out to them and
Yeah,
said,
you were
"Hey, can
just
you?"
telling me about this, like as you started
Yeah.
deal
So
with them that you had. Yeah.
so that's been ongoing. I replaced. I've done a couple of lenses, sent them to them for simple mag fluoride coatings, and single layer coatings. You got to be careful with it because it'll wear off easily. Like they're fragile, right? That's what you hear.
But
So
maybe that's good for recoating.
well, it's good for recoating. But that's all due to the process that they used to do the single layer coatings with. Nowadays, they use a different process, and I can never keep it straight which one is the modern one. But
Hey,
now
Jason, can we take a 5 minute break so I can go grab some more cables and pee? Or are you going to be sitting here assembling? Is that what you're up to?
oh yeah, I'm just filling orders.
Okay, I'll be right back. Maybe if somebody comes in, you can be like a much better host than I
Yeah,
am.
I'll talk to her.
Great. I will be right back.
All
The
right.
right back, folks, fighting the robots. Although I'm actually just looking for cables. Be right back. And we're back, folks. Jason, you still there?
Yeah, hey.
Which process are you on right now?
I am trying to print out an invoice and I'm failing.
Terrible. That's not a fun process. I mean, it is getting paid, I guess.
Well, yeah. Here we go. I ran out of my wooden plate drying racks, the parts to make them.
Uh-huh.
And then I got slammed with orders for them for my retailers. So I'm like, oh, they're all on back order now. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a few like wholesale orders that depend on like truckloads of acrylic, and sometimes like the official line is 2 weeks, and sometimes like my acrylic supplier will just buy 10 times what I need because they know that I will buy it,
Yeah.
over time, and then they can save on shipping. But like sometimes uh, it gets hairy for a couple of weeks, like trying to fill some orders for somebody with a order, and I don't like that.
Yeah. I there's a small CNC wood shop in California that supplies the parts, and the guy that runs it is it's a small business like us.
Uh huh.
I guess he threw out his back and had to have back surgery, so he was laid up for a few weeks. So he could process my order
Uh,
for a while, and then now he's got a backlog that he's working to, so it's just unexpected delays. But whatever, they'll get made.
so they're not like sitting in the Suez Canal somewhere. That
No.
has not really affected me yet, although there are definitely some Amazon or not Amazon, AliExpress electronic component shipments that are, I don't know. I think the port of Shenzhen had backed up a little bit. Um,
Yeah, I know that. I know ABS sheets have been hard to find.
yeah, I started holding like $2,000 worth of acrylic at any one point, which is really terrible for space in my shop. But like, I I will when somebody makes an order now, I will just fill it from my stock and then replenish my stock rather than uh, having to wait 2 to 4 weeks from supplier. The thing is, the supplier used to tell me 2 weeks, and then often, that's how often their truck would come. But depending upon where in that cycle I ordered, I could have it in a day if I like hit it right. But if I hit it 2 days later, it would take me 3 weeks. So I'm kind of at the point where like I might just build a shed for the sole purpose of storing, you know, 1,000 pounds of acrylic.
Yeah,
Something.
yeah, I hear you. So, all right, that's done and ready to go. Where it is? Where did that go? There it is. We had the dry plate photographers group that I um, manage on Facebook. Just passed 1,000 users.
Wow, that's crazy. There's some real power in Facebook groups. Like, maybe in the 1800s, you could have had a business making dry plates that were like sold locally, right? But now, kind of, I mean, how many dry plates have you sold in the state of New Hampshire? I think I did $150 worth of business last year in the state of New Mexico. It's
Nice.
like, uh,
Yes. typical. Well, I got folks down in Eastern Mass that order them too, but yeah, not a lot, not a big reach.
Yeah, it's interesting, like that the technology that sort of made film, I don't want to say obsolete, but less like the thing, right, is also the same technology that allows us to design and manufacture so many of these things, and like really, it allows us to sell, uh, small quantities of things all over the world, which you know you couldn't you couldn't do this. I don't know. Maybe like back in the day, I would have had just a paper ad in the back of Shutterbug. I think I probably could have afforded that, but
Yeah.
not
Well,
much else.
I don't know if you've ever read George Eastman's biography, but that was one of the things that he had to pay attention, put some effort into was setting up the logistics to sell dry plates. And so, he partnered with distributors, um, like down in New York City area.
Uh huh.
So when when his business picked up and he was cranking out dry plates in the early 1880s, he boxed up the crates and sent them down in New York City by train, and from there they were distributed. So, but he had to put time and effort into setting up that part of it. Nowadays,
Squarespace.
similar problems getting to the global market, but we don't have to do it indirectly these days.
Yeah.
So you can sell directly to people. I think that's a big difference.
Yeah. No, and I think there's something about direct sales. Like, I'd much rather make 1,000 of something at half price for wholesale or a third price, and then let somebody else deal with it instead of shipping single orders. But there's a lot of things that I make that like there's just not enough margin for keystone markup in each
Yeah.
level, and just being able to ship them through the post office as a one-off like allows me to offer a lot of things that just wouldn't be viable products otherwise. Like the camera grips, like just if I had to stock every color of every grip at every retailer, and then give them 2.5 times markup, like they would be
Yeah.
more expensive than they're worth, I think.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with just-in-time
Hmm.
manufacturing, but
Yeah, of course.
it's a lot easier to do in this day and age. So like, yeah, I keep inventory of the stock plates, but like custom orders, I mean they come in and custom sizes, they all have to be cut. So the raw materials, I have all the raw materials, right? So
Hmm.
I build up orders.
Yeah, just wait to
From like
do
these.
like a batch day of whatever. Some
Well, they'll
things
get in
just
the
can't be
queue and
produced as
they'll.
they come in.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about the custom orders and the way I manufacture the stock plates, it's easy to slip them into the queue, so to speak, because they'll just, the glass gets cut, prepped, gets cut, and then the rest of the manufacturing is just the same as the stock glass. The only difference is that, on the stock sizes, I get that glass pre-made, at a glass factory. And so, once the custom sizes are cut, then it's all the same. So that's kind of nice from that perspective, that just the nature of how they're made, it's easy to react.
Mhm. Yeah, I uh, try and keep. I'm always like um, excited about getting to shipping on day 2, uh, but sometimes I get up to like shipping on day 12. Uh, Really, I think for me, because I've been willing to make people custom nose cones for the OG for any lens they want. That's
Yeah.
that's the kicker. Is like it takes 2 hours to redesign and like perfect the model, but also,
Yeah.
I mean, uh, finding that 2 hours could take a week. Is the problem?
Yeah. Oh, I hear you.
Time. I should have put on the silk screen of this board what the ground and what the hot is, but these are the prototype boards and I rushed them out. Let's see. So,
Those are called lessons learned.
well, it's a lesson learned a long time ago. Okay. So on board side, we have ground, 5 volt, S1, S. I like keeping a Sharpie marker and a big white piece of paper on my desk. I have like notes everywhere. This. So hot is black. And signal.
Yeah, so if anybody happens to be listening who wants to buy a wooden plate drying rack, the last four are going out to Freestyle Photo until I get the next run in.
Create a run on Freestyle's inventory.
Yeah.
Well, I maybe only have 5 people watching right now, so across 3 platforms. Who would watch this?
Blabber. Yeah. Boring conversation. Bunch of nerds.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, like, I don't know that this is so interesting for anybody to watch. I never had like illusions that Ethan's YouTube salon is gonna be big, but it. I gotta sit here anyway, and like, it's really amazing that you and Matt Beckberger come on, like, or whoever's coming on, like, to tell me about whatever they're doing. It's much more entertaining than YouTube. Sometimes I just watch YouTube.
My wife was listening to me talk, and was when you left, she asked what this was, and I said, "Well, yeah, he sets up this Google Meets. I think mostly because he's bored out of his mind when he's putting this stuff together, and gives him something to
Yeah. There's
help pass the time."
I would say a lot of my guests are just somebody who is assembling something. Who are also doing it. At the beginning of the pandemic, I have these 2 friends, some of my best friends from New York, and they're both professional photographers. And for weeks, they had no work, and so they'd sit like just on Google Hangout all day. And it's become a thing. Like during the week, Gary and Ryan and I are just on a Google Meet 24/7. Ryan's girlfriend has started referring to Gary and I as Ryan's secretaries. Like he'll go out for something, and then she'll just like walk into his room, know that we'll be up on the screen, and go like, "Hey, where's Ryan?" They're like, "Oh, he went to go get a sandwich or whatever." So thanks. It's been really nice. And so like this a little bit this has been just sort of bringing that to all of the camera world. Ryan and Gary don't really shoot any film. I mean sometimes,
Right.
but yeah, they're more taking digital pictures of food and not so much concerts these days.
All right. Who else did I owe stuff to? I have this great, very organized way of keeping track of orders.
Is it a sheet of paper?
Well, I ran out of post-it notes, so let's go back to email. Let's see.
I run 4 computers at work all the time, but ultimately, the way that I make sure that I don't lose any orders is as the orders come in, I just put them on a sheet of paper and I check them off. It's the best. I have 2 sheets. One is what is it? One sheet is to print, and then the other is like everything else that has been custom ordered or orders or
Yeah.
Hey Jason, have you ever read this book by David Sachs called The Revenge of Analog?
No, I have not.
It's interesting. It's maybe not as deep as you might. It's like one of the better airport books, I think. But he
Oh yeah.
writes about sort of the return of certain analog industries. One of the reasons I liked it is like he spends a lot of time talking about film and like interviews a lot of people that you and I either know personally or know people who work for. Um,
Oh yeah. What's
to,
what's the name of the book?
The Revenge of Analog by David Sachs. I think it's S-A-X, not S-A-C-H-S, but could be wrong. It's fun. He sort of talks about um, 3 main companies in this, and then a bunch of smaller ones. But he talks about Film Ferrania. He talks about Moleskin notebooks, and he talks about um, record pressing company. Oh, and then also Shinola in Detroit, which
Oh yeah, Shinola.
but
Great.
it's interesting. I don't know. It makes feelings
Yeah, it's
about
cool.
it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, he wrote this in 2016, or is published first published in 2016.
Yeah, I checked it out from the library at the beginning of the pandemic and then had to return it when they closed the libraries, and then like only recently I got it and read it a couple of weeks ago. It was a fun read, real kind of light reading, but it was fun. There's some good quotes in there, but like a running theme was sort of people at tech companies using paper and pens to do everything. Interesting.
Um, so if he wrote that in 2016, he was researching in 2015. So that was like he actually. It'd be interesting to see what he had to say because he was writing at least for the film market, sort of at the beginning of the ramp up of all the
Yes.
renewed interest in analog. So it hadn't hit full steam just yet. I would.
In fact, when he interviews the guys at Piranha, he's like they have like an empty warehouse. They're not producing anything. They had just gotten a lease on it, and they were like, losing money hand over fist at that point, just like trying to set up a film manufacturer. It was very interesting. And I some of those people now and have seen where they've gone with it, and struggles that have happened uh, after the writing of that book. But really, it was interesting. uh, yeah, it kind of makes
Is
a lot of arguments for the practicality of analog things that are not just sort of like nostalgic, which I don't always agree with. I did like his arguments for like paper and whiteboards over all of these, you know, like note taking
yeah,
apps.
I'll say that from an engineering perspective, the one of the drawbacks to having been working from home for the past year with the whole engineering team working from home is that you can't get together face to face in front of a whiteboard and
Yeah.
hash out design ideas. It's harder to convey that sort of thing online. So like online communication is not conducive to an engineering design,
Yeah.
so to speak, where you have to.
It's hard to describe a cam when you can just draw it.
Yes, and engineers and artists too, I guess, in a similar form, are very I don't want to say photographic people, but have a
Visual thinkers or
visual
spatial
thinkers,
people.
right?
Yeah.
And so puking out. This is one of the things that many engineers struggle with is communication
Don't I
and
know it?
conveying conveying design ideas into words. And like if you can do that, then you're considered a really good engineer on a fast track. And but so most of them, it's easier to puke out a what's in your mind's eye onto a whiteboard, and
Yeah.
that's one of the drawbacks. Now the team that I've worked with over the past year, it's a big program, and most of the folks have actually, I think a side effect is that their ability to communicate verbally has improved
Uh-huh.
to convey ideas. So that's kind of a cool thing. Um, but yeah, there's times when it's like, God, I wish I had a, a dry erase marker in my hand that was able to draw, and the tools to do that online just aren't. It doesn't cut it.
No, so I have never really worked on a team of engineers. Like the closest I would come is like specing something and communicating with a client about what their machine needs to do. I don't really need to know how it does it until I install. Um, but working on this ventilator project with people kind of spread out across the globe, where I was the only English speaker, I just kept a stack of printer paper and like six different colored pens, and constantly, like, I think the people who worked on that team really loved me for it, because I would just say like, hang on a second," and then I would make a sketch on paper and often just hold it up in front of the webcam. I have this nice web,
Yeah,
um, and like, yeah, people really dug doing that, and a lot of other people would do that. And
yeah.
I mean, it's
So
not quite the same as everybody getting to edit the same whiteboard, or but it just sort of like took out all of that digital tool BS, and like sharing apps and having to draw with a mouse, and like it just you know pen and paper is very good.
yeah, so when I'm talking to MEs, when we're hashing out details of like the optomechanical design, so
Uh
line
huh.
spiral design, stuff like that, we'll talk to the solid model. Like they'll pull up SolidWorks and share screen,
Uh huh.
and we'll be talking directly to the solid model. And it's like, oh, I wish this is great, and they'll point out features with their cursor with their mouse, and I can see that. But going back the other way, it gets tough. And every once in a while, I'll grab control of their computer essentially, so I can move their mouse around,
Hmm.
which could be dangerous. But
With like Team Viewer.
uh, we use we use WebEx
Uh huh.
at company. Although they're talking about moving to Microsoft Teams, but
Yeah, everybody
WebEx, and then we use
not had the
Jabber for
pleasure.
documenting.
Hmm.
And you can share screen on Jabber and annotate. So I mean, we're engineers. We adapt and overcome. So
Yeah.
we've made do. But yeah, there's been a couple times it's like, God, I really wish that we were together. The other
Yes.
the other the other place that it hurts is doing drawing reviews. So like
Hmm.
getting ready to release drawings and just going through the review process.
Yeah, so
That's
much
where
easier to have a red or a purple pen, green pen.
it's a lot easier, and most companies have gone to doing the reviews online, sitting at your computer, and then signing off on them
Uh-huh.
in whatever configuration management software they use. But it's like that's the one thing is getting together with the drafter and the designers, the stakeholders in a room with hard copies, redlining the drawings, so we don't have
Hmm.
to continue to iterate. I wasted like 2 or 3 weeks on a iteration of optical drawings recently, just getting it through the process because of clerical errors on the drawings.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I think like
painful.
probably the best way to go about that is just sit there with the scanner up and a laser printer. Like there's, uh,
Well, I mean, we could we do it online, marking it up in Acrobat Reader, but
so much.
sometimes you just don't have enough monitors to have the stuff sitting side by side for the drafter to make those updates. That sometimes it's nice to have a hard copy and be flipping through.
So generally, like in my process, I'm working on this other scanner right now, and like I will, make a bunch of hand sketches. I'll take it into SolidWorks, print it, cut it, and as I'm assembling, I keep a engineering track changes document. But like even notes for myself, um, some of those notes, like if I'm trying to describe a piece that, like, sometimes I give things part numbers or whatever, but like if it's a geometrical change on a film guide, like that track change has a drawing next to it, which I had to do
Yeah,
on a computer. It would take me so long. Like eventually, it's gonna get done on a computer, but being able to like pencil in a triangle, and like just dimension fillet on an edge is really pleasant. I would just
yeah,
go crazy if I had to try and do that for another person if I couldn't laser print the current version and then like draw on top of it in red.
right. I mean, um, this is for my day job, so it's it's process heavy for configuration management. So currently the drawings are under engineering control because we're making prototypes, but even then there's a process involved. So if the drafter runs a drawing into the sign off process and it gets rejected, it's not quite as simple as just going back and changing the drawing. Like
Uh-huh.
they have to they have to pull it, do the update, and run it through the approval process again. It was like at some point I was just bitching about it to the lead ME, saying, fixing all these clerical errors in the sign off process is not acceptable because it's delayed me ordering optics by 2 or 3 weeks. It's
Yeah.
like we got to fix that. So we slightly adjusted our review process. So now we're at least having telecoms, and there's a group of us. All the stakeholders are on a call with the drawing pulled up, PDF copy pulled up in Acrobat, and actively editing it to try to close that, shorten that turnaround time. But I mean that's just sort of stuff that it's interesting to see after being in the business for 22 years and seeing the same mistakes repeated.
Uh-huh.
Not at the same place necessarily, but just seeing the same things done over and over again.
Industry is often slow moving, but has a lot of power behind it. Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I
It's a classic classic problem of passing on corporate knowledge. So even within the company, we get one of the decision makers who's new to the company making decisions without realizing that the rest of us have been there and done that and are saying, no, don't do that because this will happen.
Uh-huh.
And luckily, most folks tend to listen and go, okay, well, you convinced me, I guess. But
Sure.
overcoming that.
There's still a learning curve just for like
Yeah.
institutional knowledge.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know. I mean,
It's like, no, this isn't new stuff. We've done this before. We've done it this way because of this. And I guess having a mix of experience on a team is can't be understated. The usefulness of that.
one day I
All
would
right.
love to work. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
One day I would love to work on an engineering team. It was really fun fiddling with the ventilator over the internet, but it would be fun to do, in person.
Yeah.
Although all of my friends who work on engineering teams are either computer engineers, which is fun, but I prefer that as a solitary process. uh, and
Yeah.
anybody I
Well,
know, mechanical engineers, like just designing one switch of a much larger project that would be interesting if you were, the guy with 50 years of seniority managing it, but like for all the people putting together the pieces,
yeah. I
often.
mean, I'm the optical lead on a big program, and so I interact with my mechanical. It's a full integrated. Actually, we got several integrated teams for the product. But yeah, I've got a mechanical engineering counterpart, electrical engineering counterpart. There's there's a software engineer, a firmware engineer, um, and then all the folks that work underneath us. And then we've got the system engineering folks that are tracking requirements. Like it's a full blown thing.
Uh-huh.
It's it's nice to and they're all good people. Actually, it's a pretty good team that's gotten pulled together, which is another key part.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're working with shitheads, it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
But you're just trying to escape. But um, it when it's good people who are contributing and not just being another cook in the kitchen, so to speak. It's good to get
Yeah, it's like
get
some of the
different
most fun you can
perspectives.
have, right? Like
Yeah,
people usually don't become engineers because they don't love making things, and like I don't know, I became a member of the makerspace like a lot because I like hanging out with the weirdos who like making things. Um, yeah, it's the most fun you can have with a computer, probably, and some friends.
yeah. So and then we interact with the customer and then we have the technical leadership and yeah, it's a good working. When the team comes together and is being productive, um, it's a lot of fun. That's the fun part.
Yeah, that's great.
So, anyways, I gotta let you go because my coder's here and she's asking me
Okay.
how much emulsion
Thanks for hanging out,
emulsion is.
Jason. It's good talking to you. Have a
Yeah,
good
have fun.
Sunday, and thank your daughter for me.
Yeah, I will.
All right.
Catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
That's pretty great. I'm gonna solder a few more of these and then probably go make breakfast. But if anybody's out there who wants to chat for a little bit, the link is over here. Blue, black, red, green. one more. Okay. Well, I think I am done for a little bit. I'm going to go make some breakfast, and if Laura is working today, I will come solder the next 20 boards and maybe do some mechanical assembly and build some control boxes here. If Laura does not work, maybe I will be back tomorrow. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching and stopping in. It's been fun.